We officials, creators and artists in the field of literature and art thought that the respected general was directing literature and art alone.
Every day, people use mass media to find out about the goings-on around the world, the latest sports results, local news, and the latest films and TV shows. The DPRK is no different. Since the end of the Second World War, even before the formation of the country itself, Korea has used mass media in the form of newspapers, magazines, radio, and latterly television to keep people up to date. In this video, we're going to focus on the DPRK's newspapers and magazines from 1946 right up to the present day. For the sake of efficiency, we won't be able to cover all of them. The country's published thousands of different magazines, newspapers, periodicals, and other materials since its inception, ranging from magazines for the nation's youth and farming periodicals to science publications and magazines about engineering. So, we're going to focus on 6 newspapers, 5 periodicals originating in the mid-20th century, and 3 magazines being published today. Here's the DPRK's media explained. We'll begin with newspapers. Across the country, there are numerous news publications. Some focused on events in specific provinces and regions, such as Kaesong or the provinces, with others published by groups like the General Federation of Trade Unions or the Teachers' Union. We'll focus on 6. Rodomsinmun, or the Workers' Newspaper, the 조선인문군, or Korean People's Army, 민주조선, or Democratic Korea, 천년전위, or Youth Vanguard, 조선신보, or Korean News Report, and the Pyongyang Times. Each of these publications is either targeted at a different demographic inside or outside the country, or it's produced by a different organisation or group. Rodomsinmun translates literally to workers' newspaper and has been produced since November 1945, only a few months after the liberation of Korea at the end of the Second World War. Originally under the name Jongno, or The Right Path, changing its name to the workers' newspaper in September the following year. The newspaper is the official paper of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, originally serving as a mouthpiece for the Northern Bureau of the Korean Communist Party. Today, it publishes daily domestic news, international news, articles on economic matters, and other topics you might expect from any newspaper. Rodomsinmun is also available online at nodong.rep.kp, and an English language version has been printed since January 2012. The newspaper's importance is highlighted by the location of its head office along Sungni Street, or Victory Street, in downtown Pyongyang. 조선인문군 translates literally to Korean People's Army and has been in circulation since before the country itself, publishing its first issue on the 10th of July 1948. as part of developing the Korean People's Revolutionary Army, the guerrilla force of the anti-Japanese fighters, into a more modern, national military. The newspaper is published by the Ministry of National Security and produces a new edition daily, focusing on, amongst other things, topics related to national defence and the military. The KPA paper has received numerous accolades, including the Order of the National Flag in 1951, the Order of Freedom and Independence in 1968, and the Order of Kim Il-sung in 1988. Minjujoson, or Democratic Korea, is another long-running publication in the DPRK, having been running since August 1945, when it was formed as the official newspaper of the People's Committee of South Pyongyang Province, under the name Pyongyang Ilbo. It went on to become the official newspaper of the People's Committee of North Korea later in 1945, eventually coming to its current position, published by the Supreme People's Assembly and the Cabinet of the DPRK in 1948. Today, the newspaper focuses more on administrative matters, economic affairs, and the detail and minutiae of government policy and action. It's also available online at minzu.rep.kp. 천년전위, or Vanguard of the Youth, is published daily in the DPRK and is the official publication of the Socialist Patriotic Youth League. Like the previous two mentions, the paper has been in circulation since the 1940s, with the first edition being published in January 1946. The name of the paper has changed along with its parent organisation. Originally founded under the name Cheongnyeon, or Youth, as part of the Democratic Youth League of Korea. It later changed its name to Minjucheongnyeon, or Democratic Youth, in September 1946. In 1964, the organisation was redeveloped into the Socialist Working Youth League of Korea, and thus the paper was changed to Nodongcheongnyeon, or Working Youth. In 1996, the organisation became the Kim Il-sung Socialist Youth League, and the paper took on its current name. Since then, the paper has remained the same, but the organisation has been renamed twice. First as the Kim Il-sungist Kim Jong-ilist Youth League in 2016, and then as the Socialist Patriotic Youth League in 2021. Aimed more at younger people than the previous mentions, the paper carries headline news along with commentary on national news stories from the perspective of the country's youth. The paper was honoured with the Order of the National Flag after never failing to miss an issue during the entire Korean conflict from 1950 to 1953. It can also be found online at youth.rep.kp. Moving abroad for a moment, 조선신보 is the official newspaper of the General Association of Korean Residents in Japan, more commonly known as the Cheongnyeon. The newspaper serves the community of Koreans who live in Japan after being abducted during the Japanese occupation of the peninsula, and remain loyal to the DPRK despite living abroad. Founded in October 1945 under the name Minjung Daily, it was later renamed Haebang-shinmun, or Liberation Paper, the following year. During the Korean conflict in the 1950s, the paper was suspended by the US forces in Japan, and eventually came back into print under the name Cho선민보, latterly changed to Chosonshinbo in 1961. It was awarded the Order of Kim Il-sung in 1975. The Pyongyang Municipal Committee, publishes a local newspaper for the capital, but what is most interesting about this small paper is there is a foreign language version published by the DPRK's Foreign Language Publishing House. The newspaper is aimed at foreigners abroad as well as those in the country. It is distributed abroad as well as domestically and can often be found in airports, hotels, and any other areas where foreign travellers are likely to be. The newspaper is published weekly and carries stories covering both domestic and international news, and can also be found online at pyongyangtimes.com.kp. In addition to the newspapers published across the DPRK, there are hundreds of magazines and periodicals which have been produced since the formation of the country in the 1940s. From political and cultural magazines to publications focused on sport and film. So, let's take a look at 6 different magazines published during the 20th century, which span numerous different topics. Kuroja, or Worker, is a monthly magazine published alongside Rodomshinmun, also as an official publication of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. The first edition was published in 1946, while the country was under the administration of the Soviet-run People's Committee for North Korea, and holds one of the early emblems which would eventually become the symbol of the Workers' Party of Korea, featuring a hammer, sickle, and calligraphy brush. The magazine carries editorials related to the political goings-on in the country, national directives, and essays on everything from socialist economic construction to foreign policy. Konsolja translates directly to Let's Construct, and was published during the mid-20th century. Originally as a periodical to focus on the rebuilding of the country following the near total destruction of many cities in the country during the 1950s. Latterly, the magazine changed its name to Konsol, simply construction, and followed developments around the country in architecture, rebuilding, city planning, and other aspects of construction, including some fantastic archive photos, sketches, and city plans of Pyongyang and other regions in the DPRK. 국제생활, or International Life, was first published to focus on goings-on outside the DPRK. The magazine originally featured a typical plain front cover, later to be replaced by photographs from the spires of the Kremlin and Red Square to the Liberation Tower in Pyongyang and Beijing's Tiananmen Square. The magazine carried editorials focused on the DPRK's relations with foreign countries, cultural and political issues abroad, and essays on the division of Korea and the legacy of the imperialist Japanese occupation of the country. The magazine also focused on relations between Pyongyang and foreign countries, notably those allied members of the Warsaw Pact and Eastern Bloc. The magazine Chollima took its name from the Chollima movement which preceded it. You can find out more about that in my video Rebuilding Korea. The publication is a general interest magazine covering a wide range of topics from articles on health, culture, politics and other subjects, and it's always been interspersed with photos from around the country. The magazine was originally produced with hand-drawn illustrations on the cover, depicting patriotic scenes, workers and labourers, or important ideological imagery such as soldiers, statues or flags. 조선영화 is a magazine dedicated to Korean cinema, with the name translating literally as Korean cinema or Korean film. Founded in 1957, Cho선영화 celebrated the art of movie making, with articles on the details and techniques of the DPRK film industry, editorials on specific artists and actors, as well as news, updates and announcements regarding upcoming productions. The magazine highlights the importance of filmmaking to the DPRK, which only grew in significance as the century progressed. Cinema has long been viewed in the country as an important way to unify the masses behind the nation's ideological banner, and the magazine covers some of the most significant on-screen productions from the nation's history. As mentioned before, there are still many published periodicals in the country, ranging from youth magazines and comics to internationally focused magazines and general interest periodicals. Choson, or Korea, officially the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, is a flagship magazine published monthly in the DPRK, detailing Korea's achievements during that period. The publication typically opens with any major events such as parades, missile launches, holiday celebrations, or completed construction projects. This headline article is then followed by editorial pieces focusing on a wide range of topics. These vary monthly from articles about developments in the provinces and uplifting stories of individuals, to news about new factory products and in-depth history articles. Essentially, Choson is a general interest magazine focusing on many aspects of Korean life. Each edition will include a number of special reports akin to general monthly headline news, followed by special features and pieces on nature, sports or culture. The magazine is published in Korean, along with a series of other languages including, but not limited to, English, Russian and Chinese. The magazine is immediately notable thanks to its distinct national flag colour scheme. Originally a red, white and blue bar at the top of the cover, and since 2021, a national flag motif at the bottom of the cover. Each copy is always emblazoned with a striking image on the front, usually depicting the most significant event that month or other generally patriotic imagery. Kumsugangsan translates roughly to the land of mountains and rivers, and is a monthly periodical in the DPRK focused on more cultural, everyday aspects of life in the country. As opposed to other magazines and newspapers, whilst Kumsugangsan does still include some articles focused on the political goings-on, a typical copy of the magazine may contain articles, essays and editorials more focused on holidays, history, sport, nature, and innovations and developments in industry and the economy. This is alongside more niche, nuanced pieces which may not be so widely appealing as to be included in other magazines. Recent publications have included details of the new Hwasong Street completion, articles on children's talents, recent performances, horse riding, new rural villages, and renewable energy innovations. Now, for the final entry on this exhaustive list. Foreign Trade. Foreign Trade of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea is a quarterly magazine published by the Committee for the Promotion of International Trade. Since 1965, the magazine has detailed products and services available to foreign markets from the DPRK and, unlike other periodicals and newspapers we've covered, it's aimed at an international audience rather than a domestic one. From cosmetics and beverages to hotels and carpets, the magazine reads like a catalogue of DPRK export products, often focusing on innovations made in various fields and developments in the production of many of the goods advertised. Well, with that, we've come to an end. Of course, this is only scratching the surface of the newspapers, magazines, periodicals and pictorial publications available in the DPRK. and those are only one part of the mass media in the country. If you're interested in finding out more about the country's media, check out my video on television in the DPRK. And if you are particularly interested in the magazines and newspapers which grew out of the 1950s and 60s, check out my video on the Chollima movement, which focuses a bit more on the state of the country at the time and dives into how and why these publications came about. As always, this video was only possible thanks to my backers on Patreon, linked in the description if you want to join and support the channel and these videos. It really is so appreciated. Thanks for watching. If you want to get your hands on the music I used in this video, you can find a link to my DPRK Explained music channel in the description. And I'm going to leave you with a montage of some of my favourite cover illustrations from the past 75 years.